Okay, so for our final project in week 2, I thought instead of, we started with a character study, kind of a preliminary, and then we went into a more advanced character study with a background dropped in, and now I thought it'd be good to do an environment, space environment, but not a solar system, environment. We don't want to see Saturn and, all these moons and stuff. I mean, it gets too artsy / cliche sometimes. So let's think of maybe a terrestrial or a extraterrestrial environment. Now, I highly recommend using your own photos. Like, this is my iPhoto page, and I'm looking for something that would be interesting. Like this plant, I bet I could drop in and make it look really alien. Right now, I'm looking for an alien environment. So I'm going to select this, and I'm going to open that up in Photoshop. And while I'm there, I might as well, look at this plant, because I might be able to drop it in and make it look really cool. Okay? So, and of course, then we can also go in and look at Hubble images, etc. Right? Like let's see here. We were looking at let's go over here and find some Hubble images, right? And I can think about maybe getting something in there that's kind of interesting. Boy, there's some just amazing things in there, aren't there? If you're talking about spacecraft, that might be kind of interesting to have in there. I'm not sure exactly, what I'm looking for here, but let me just pick one. There's a really cool one of like Jupiter. That'd be cool in the sky. But maybe just let's just get some star backgrounds, right? And of course, I need to get the big version. So let me go ahead and click on that and drag that to my desktop. If I can do that, hold on. Drag it to my desktop and open that up in Photoshop. Now, all these are going to be different resolutions, image size. Let's see what I got here, 180. I'm going to change this to 72. I just want to work in web format. I'm going to make them a little bit bigger. I'm feeling a little bit more expansive. Like, how about 900? All right. And I'm going to play with that one. I could have kept it big. I would have had a few more options in there. But this is what I was thinking of doing on this one is maybe coming in and we've used the selection tools. Again, remember on these tutorials I am not necessarily showing you the most beautiful seamless kinds of solutions possible. I'm brainstorming here so that you can get an idea of how if you had an hour or two or more to spend on these. I used to spend 20 hours on a project sometimes. All right. Now I want to drop I actually want to drop my selection in there, but I also wanted to move this guy down. So hold on. I'm thinking I might want to, I'm going to select all, I'm going to move everything down so I have more sky. Maybe something like that. And now I'm going to go ahead and select that. So let me do that for you. Okay, so I've got that selected. I'm going to go over to my Hubble Deep Space, do a select all. I bet this is pretty high res, but let's just see what happens when we drop it in there. We're going to do an edit paste into. Pretty wild. I don't know if I'm wild about these mountains in here. Okay, so I went back and got rid of those blue ones. I mean, we're going to work on this background anyway, right? Aren't we going to play with our different adjustment layers and things? For example, I don't know. I mean, first I kind of want to get a sense of what this environment's going to look like. Now I'm going to do Control T, hold down my Shift key, and resize this thing. Except I can see I'm getting into trouble there. I'm missing some things over here. So hold on. Oh, I see what the problem is. They got a big black area here on this image. You know what? I'm just going to work with it. I'm going to do an edit paste into, and I'll just deal with that later. I'll make it more seamless in a minute. So I've got this alien sky that's kind of a little bit too big. I'd probably play with that. I might go and look for a different image. But first I want to make this look a little bit more alien in here. Okay, so what kind of things can we do here? We can colorize it, make sure I'm on the right layer. Let me think. There were some really cool like adjustment layers and things. I think for right now, I want to let me think about this. I think for right now I'm just going to bump up my levels, and I might look at my saturation and see if I want to make it look a little bit more. I don't know. I might want a little bit more of a hyper real. Yeah, let's go with that. And again, I'm not wild about these edges right in here. Right? I can go ahead and take those out. Well, I guess I can't. Hold on. This would be a perfect opportunity for, the healing brush. I'm also going to flatten it while I'm in there too. Let me get my pen. I use a mouse just because of the nature of the online teaching, but I used to use a pen exclusively, and there you can see. We can start making those edges look maybe a little bit more atmospheric. Perspective, a little bit softer. Again, I'm going to go in there and, spend some time in there, right? Okay, next thing. I want another element in there. Now, let's see. I had this weird plant. I wonder if I can, let me bump my levels up. Okay, and let me see if I can select that. Now, there is a way to pull this over so that it is next to instead of a tab. And this is where sometimes I'll try to shift click through and select this plant form and see what happens. I might be able to experiment with this. It works better with a little bit higher resolution. Let me increase my tolerance on my selection and see what happens. All right, now I'm going to drag that over and just see what that looks like with my move tool. Except I didn't want that. Hold on. Maybe my tolerance is set out. Let me juggle that. There we go. I set my tolerance to 50. I've got more of the plant selected. Now I'm going to drag it over. Okay. And you can see, not too bad actually. Got some of that fringing in there. Now here I want to think about, when you're doing a landscape, big, medium, and small shapes, some overlapping maybe involved in there. Something kind of off screen I think would be kind of nice, like over in here, right? And then I might start maybe deleting some of this white in here and working with my again with my different photo tools, photo retouching tools to make this blend in a little more, right? Okay. I can use my, there's a number of different things I can do here. I was just going to use my smudge tool to maybe soften up some of these edges a little bit. You notice that it's still in its own layer. I haven't flattened this yet. So I'd probably go around in here and try to make this look as natural as possible. What other things can I do? I can also think about the color. Do I want to change the color of this thing from green? Now that's kind of interesting. I just changed the hue. I like that orange. It looks like it's going to fit in there. And I'm also going to look at the levels, and I want to bump up the darks and see if I can make this a little bit more dramatic, like that. Boom. Now remember, before I flatten this, I have the option of deleting some of these things. So if I felt like maybe this leaf was in the way, which I don't necessarily, but remember I can delete these things and see if I can make them fit a little bit better. Actually, I don't mind that at all. Now I thought my mountains were they're kind of standing out. I don't like the blue in them, so look, I'm just desaturating. I've selected blues only, and I'm just desaturating the blues there to make them fit in, so I can juggle those around and everything. Now, what's the last thing we need in this alien environment? A structure, something in the sky. I don't want to necessarily put a planet. Let me think about this. I think I want to put something in like a dome. I'm really into domes. Let me take a look and see what this looks like. It's going to be a little small, but I don't want them big, so this might just work. Let me grab these domes here. Now remember, I am copying this link and pasting it into my written component. Okay, so I pasted that dome in here, and I changed the color a little bit with the hues and the saturation. And I also selected with my magic wand this area in here and did a paste into so that the structure looks like it's behind these. I don't want to have everything just pasted on, so it's just hanging there and all in the same kind of level, like hanging right in front of you. You want to somehow integrate these things in, montage them in so they look like they belong. The last thing is, I was thinking, I don't know. I went back to Hubble, and I got this structure. I just want to play with this. I didn't want to put a planet in there, right? But I'm thinking this needs something else, and I'm not sure what. Maybe coming in from the side. How big can this be? And if I want to play with this, and I want to keep the original, look, I'm going to drag this down and make a new layer. I'm going to turn off my original so I have it there as a backup. And now I'm going to just play with the scale here. Remember, I want big, medium, and small shapes. I've already got a pretty small, I've got a big plant here. I've got actually this is a little small, it's not even medium. But, I've got this guy now, and I'm not sure, maybe he could be landing back here. I want to break the mountains so I get a little more feeling of depth. Again, I'm not really even sure what I want to do here. Whether I want this thing over here kind of sticking in, acting as a visual break in the composition. Remember, think composition. What's kind of nice about having this plant in a different layer is that I can have this space structure actually be behind it. So I don't know if it's going to work. It kind of looks kind of funky, but it gives you some options there. That's actually not too bad there because it looks like it's landed, and this is related to that. So you know what? I think I'm going to leave this at that. Remember, I've been playing with this for 10 minutes, okay, for the amount of time you've been watching this tutorial. You're going to have hours, hopefully, that you're going to want to put into this. And this thing kind of fits right now, but remember, hue, I can play with the hues if I want. Which I don't think are going to work there. I can play with the saturation if I want to tone it down a little bit. That's not too bad there. I can play with the darkness and lightness and the levels. I'm going to leave that. I'm going to leave all those alone. I actually didn't mind the desaturating, so it's more silver, a little bit more low-tech, high, like the old sci-fi. And I could play with this. Again, I'm not really wild about the way it's kind of sticking out, but maybe I'll just leave it like that. I do want to break the line of those mountains, right? But it feels a little empty in here somehow. I'm not sure if I'd have like a tree branch coming in here. Maybe I would just leave it. Maybe I would try my gradient. Let me try that real quick. Yeah, I tried my gradient in there to kind of tone down that sky. Maybe it's, I don't know. It just seemed a little bit, here's the gradient off. Here's the gradient on. I don't know. Play with it. And if it does need, again, if I want to try something, if I can go, well, what happens if I put a moon in here? Which is kind of like your classic, what everybody does, right? I put it in a separate layer. I can move it around, and I can start asking myself, what if I went and found a planet? Not Saturn, please, but some kind of planet, and, with craters and stuff, and I montaged it in there. I can play with something like that and see whether or not I need one last little focal point. Remember the rule of thirds, right? If you divide your composition into thirds, which I'll roughly do here, okay, at the intersection is going to be a very good place for a focal point. So let's turn off those guides. Yeah, that might be a pretty good place for a moon or something. Now, how big it's going to be, what I like to do is I like to take them down, look at the relationship to the other elements, see if I have a bunch of same size elements floating around, which would make kind of a static read. I don't think I'd want it too big, and how bright or I would have it. I'd have to think about that. Think about what kind of color I might want to have it be in there, and I would probably get, again, I would go to and get a really cool image of the moon with some craters or something. But this will give you some ideas as far as big, medium, small shapes overlapping to create an environment that we can then discuss in the threads.